Hey guys, welcome back to the shop. Today we're working on our 72 Crewcab 6.7 project. Where we left off, we just got the cab mounted to the frame and everything. But today I'm working on the front clip over here, so let me go fill you guys in with what I've got going. Okay, so been working on the front end on this thing, kind of getting a sense of what I need to do to make everything fit, basically. Right now I just have the core support bolted into the front end and kind of getting the feel of our limitations and problem areas. So I wanted to fill you guys in with those. First off is the radiator. Wanted to get an idea of what radiator I want to use and everything. Originally I was going to try to use the factory 6.7 radiator, just so the radiator hoses and everything bolt up new, and I know it's enough radiator for the engine. But comes to find out the 6.7 radiator is going to be way too big for even, you know, just the hole here. I'm going to hack up this core support to make it work, and it's actually 44 inches wide, which is going to come way in here to the inner fenders here, so that's going to really complicate things. And I know from some other projects I've done, so this factory 6-liter Power Stroke radiator is going to fit the opening really well here, you know, without having to cut the core support up and mess up all of the factory grill mounting and everything else that goes along with that. So it is a lot taller. It is taller than the 6.7 radiator. The 6.7 radiator is more shorter and fatter. It's real wide, and it actually goes on top of the frame here. So I think we would also run into problems with it hitting the bottom of the core support. I've seen other guys who have done similar swaps like this notch the frame out right here so they can stand the radiator up more straight. But with this 6.0 radiator, we can eliminate all of that. It does, however, not fit. The reason it's all set up like this is it doesn't fit these brackets that support the core support here. They don't fit in between that, just barely, like 1/4 inch each side. So I have to knock those off to give it a little bit more clearance, and then it sets right up against that really nice. And you know, with that 6.7 radiator, it was going to be like majority blocked off by the core on this outside edge. So without cutting holes in this or anything, you're losing that cooling capacity anyway. So the factory 6.0 Power Stroke radiator is quite a bit smaller than the 6.7, so we have to worry about cooling capacity and how much cooling capacity we have for that engine. The going off of the cubic inch size of the radiator, the core of the radiator anyway, the factory 6-liter radiator like this one's like 1100 and change cubic inches. The factory 6.7 radiator is about 1600 and change cubic inches. And then I found one that's actually an aftermarket aluminum radiator that's a 3-core radiator instead of a 2 like this. So that core is a lot thicker, so that adds a lot more, and it's actually 1800 cubic inches. So I found a factory 6-liter radiator that's bigger than the stock 6.7 radiator, so hopefully we'll have the same cooling capacity. The radiator hoses are going to be fun because the 6.7 one comes way over here, so I can't use that. And the size is different. It has a quick connect deal here instead of just a hose, so that'll be a challenge we'll work with once we get something installed here. So I think I have the radiator sorted out. We'll just have to mount, you know, trim up the core support and mount the radiator a little bit lower down. The second problem I have with all of this is the height of the frame rail. The 6.7 frame, it drops way down here like this, for one, to accommodate the radiator, but for two, the crash standards with bumper height and everything, they lower that frame down so that when you hit something, you don't go up over it and like go into the windshield of some smaller cars and stuff. The earlier trucks, they had a crash bar that went down lower that did that, but on these I think they just lowered the frame to do away with that crash bar. But the problem I'm having here is I haven't made up my mind yet, but what I was thinking of was maybe a factory bumper and kind of doing a factory look on this one on the front without having an aftermarket winch bumper. And that bumper would be right here. So if you can tell, that frame sticks way down, so the factory bumper being up here and then that frame sticking down there, I don't think that's going to look good. Also, the radiator is going to be sticking down at least part way into that frame. So with just the factory bumper, we're going to have a radiator hanging down here where you can see it down low. So I don't think that's going to look the best up front, because you'd be able to see it. Maybe you can visualize it up here. See, right there is where the factory bumper would go. So everything down here would be visible. So I think we're going to end up having to do a aftermarket winch bumper on this thing, just to kind of hide everything, because we have to have so much more cooling capacity with this big diesel engine that I think we're just going to have a big bumper on it to hide things. Unfortunately, I think it'll still look cool. I was just kind of going for something a little bit different, because my 67 Highboy has that buck stop bumper on it, and this one's Wimbledon white, and that truck's Wimbledon white. So I was kind of avoiding putting the exact same bumper on it, but I'll see what my options are. But for now, I think we're just going to assume we're doing the 6.0 radiator. I'm going to get that radiator, that big aftermarket one, ordered. As far as mounting the core support, we do have our factory frame purchase right here, but I would like it if I could cut off the frame here and raise it up just a little bit to try to get some of that back. But I haven't made up my mind yet. If I don't cut off the frame, we'll just put the mounts here and make a mount right here on the core support and make it nice and easy on us. But otherwise, I think I'm going to have to do some hacking, but haven't made up my mind yet on that stuff. So when I do, I'll let you guys know. All right, I have the core support removed. So here's this new core support I had in there. You can see the brackets here that get in the way of the radiator, because that radiator comes right along here. And here's the core support I'm going to use. This is a factory one that I've had painted, and I've drilled out the spot welds and got that bracket out of the way, so that radiator is going to have room there. Also, the factory core support mount is right here. Cut that out of the way as well, because it's not going to work with this setup. So that's all trimmed up, ready for that fit that radiator in there. So I'm going to put this one in there and see if we can get that radiator to sit down where it needs to go. All right, well, I have that other core support put in here that I trimmed the bracing right here off, and the radiator sits in there really good, other than now it is hitting the bottom of the frame. It's hitting here on the frame rails. The 6.7 radiator actually goes on top of the frame right here, so it's not as deep as the 6-liter radiator. So I'm planning on cutting off these frames anyway. The front frame section here, I'm going to cut it off right there and extend this out straight with a section of the 72 frame that's off of this truck. I'm going to extend it out here with those frame sections. For one, because I'll have the official VIN for the frame on here, and two, it'll be straight out here, and it'll fit the core support better as far as the mount goes, and we'll get away with having this frame hanging way down low where you'll see it. And we'll also open it up so that radiator can slide down in there, because it still needs to go down a couple inches to make the fan work. I think the fan's going to work great with the 6-liter Power Stroke shroud there. We just got to go down a few more inches, and then we'll make brackets to hold it onto the core support here, and then we'll have to make some brackets that come down off of the core support to support the bottom of the radiator, because it needs to be mounted to the same location, because you mount it to the frame and the core support. When it flexes and stuff, it can bust those tanks on the radiator. So I'm going to build some brackets that come off of here to hold the bottom of the radiator. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to pull the front end apart to do that, so this is all out of the way, so I can cut those frames off nice and straight. Also had the intercooler. This is the factory 6.7 water to air intercooler. I have it kind of set into where I think it's going to go. It can't butt up against the this part of the inner fender, because the hood kind of curves over right here. But if I have it off a couple inches, I think it clears right here. So fortunately, it's going to fit here. It is sticking up a little bit more than I like. It's kind of, out in the open here, but I think it'll fit there just fine. See the hood, or you can see it's below the top of the core support there. So I think it's going to clear the hood just fine, and we'll have this will go down to the turbo, and then this is the cold side going into the engine there. So I'll have to make some custom pipes that fit it into the engine, because I think this is farther away than the factory Power Stroke was, so the stock pipes aren't going to fit. But anyway, was kind of brainstorming on the coolant bottle for this. Right here's where the hose for the 6.7 went into the coolant bottle, and I don't think it's going to fit here. So I'm probably going to have to do some kind of custom deal right there, and see if I can find something that fits, so we can have a little bit of a coolant reservoir. But that's pretty far down the road. You know, I'm just kind of brainstorming ideas of how I'm going to do it, so I can kind of plan ahead whenever I start working on that kind of stuff. I can have something maybe already picked out and ordered in here, so I can make it work when I'm putting it all back together for the final assembly. For the batteries, I do want to run 2 batteries because it's a diesel. It takes a lot of cranking amps to start it, especially when it's cold. So I think I'm going to do 2 batteries right here instead of just the one right here. I think we'll have room to put 2 right here, and then I'll just make a battery box. Probably going to have to do some extra supporting in here, and we'll have to see how strong it is, because that's going to be an awful lot of weight here on this inner fender. Although it is pretty strong because it's bolted to that core support all the way around there. But we'll make sure we have some extra bracing. I might go off of the inner fender here and make a strap up to the bottom of the battery tray there, from like right here up to here, just to add a little bit more strength there, because that'll be out of the way of the tire and stuff. So, you know, I don't want that to start breaking and cracking. I can see it's rusted here, but I could see that start cracking right there if we have a lot of weight, you know, bouncing up and down on that. So anyway, it's going pretty good. So for now, I'm just going to yank this back apart, and I'll start cutting off those frame rails and getting them out of the way, and then I'll start welding the new ones on so I can start fabricating the core support mounts, because that is my main goal with all of this, is to get those core support mounts figured out. But for now, I'm just going to get started on yanking this thing back apart. Well, here we go, guys. I have the Super Duty frame, front frame sections cut off the truck, and I have the frame rails from the original frame welded on here. Now these are sticking way far out, further than they need to be, and let me explain why. Right here is the VIN number, the official VIN number on the frame that matches my title for this truck. So I wanted to be able to integrate that into the frame just so I could have it, and prove that I had the frame, and the VIN matches that, and the door tag and everything. So I cut it as far back as I could so I could retain that stamping there on the frame. So I did have to cut them extra long, and they're going to be chopped off here the length they need. And depending on what bumper I put on, I was thinking about doing a factory bumper. If I can make it fit with the radiator not looking goofy sticking way down, I'll have to move these frame horns in. I'll weld them wherever they need to go to mount the bumper, but they have to be inboard because this is for a 34-inch frame, the bumper holes. So to make that work, they have to go in a little bit because this is 37-inch right now. So anyway, those are just minor things that we'll do later on. So right now, my thing was just to make sure these are level, the right height and the right distance apart and square with the frame. You know, the height was easy. I just made sure the frame was level to begin with. How I did that was I just let air out of this tire here. It was leaning a little bit. I let some air out of this tire until the frame was perfectly level. So then I knew when I put these in, if they were level, it's level with the frame. And the height is also easy. I just measured out here the height from the ground. Since the truck was level, as long as you're measuring from the ground, we should be good there. And the distance apart, you know, that's pretty easy, obviously. But the squareness was tricky to make sure, you know, this isn't kicked over like this. Because if they're both kicked over like this, your measurements will be the same, but they're not square with the frame. You know, if it was this bad, obviously you'd be able to tell, but we're talking, you know, a little bit. So basically I just did it by eye, because this isn't that critical. You know, all the suspension components are behind this point. Basically all this does is hold up your core support and your bumper. So if it's not perfectly square, you can change that and fudge that a little bit and make it work so your body and all lines up. But anyway, I want it to be as square as I can. So basically I just went with make sure I was square with the cab, and then sighted down the frame rail here and make sure that looks straight. And I have them tacked in place, but to make sure, I'm going to put the front end back together and the core support back on and get it kind of all bolted together, and then I'll take measurements off of that to see if I'm way far off or something before I weld them in. But for now, that's what I'm doing. And in here, once I get all that made sure it's all square, I'm going to weld all this all in the internal and external part of the frame. I'll cut this bottom part off. I'll plate all the way that up into here, and then I'll also plate back in here to add just to add strength back to it. So that's what we got going on, and hopefully once I get the core support on, everything will be fairly aligned up. But we'll check that just to make double sure, and then I'll start burning it all together. Well guys, got the front end back together here. It went together nice and easy. The frame rails turned out nice and straight and square, just how I like it, especially whenever I'm doing it by eyeball. Sometimes my eyeball isn't calibrated, but this time I guess it was pretty good. Ended up pretty straight. So my plan moving forward here, if you can see, the frame rails are a lot closer to the core support, and that was kind of my main goal, because the factory one for the Super Duty frame went way down here, and now we got the frame rail right up here close to the core support. I did have to cut out the factory hole, which is way back in here, that the core support will be mounted with, so we're not going to be able to use that. But I think what I'm going to end up doing is I'm going to be adding some like 3/16 plate up here, and get up there where the camera can see it. 3/16 plate right here with a hole in it, and I'll have some bracing that goes up into the core support to add some strength, because that will be holding up a lot of weight. And then I got my brackets right here cut off of the original Super Duty frame, and we'll put the cab mount on it and just kind of weld it on there, and I think that will turn out pretty nice. So that'll do the job nicely there. So once I get all that figured out, we're gonna finish welding all this up. Like this piece that sticks down here, I'll cut that off straight and weld a piece of metal in there, and I'm also gonna box the inside in there, so add some strength back, and won't have to worry about these frame rails breaking or bending. I do have to cut off a lot of this frame, since I made these long because I wanted that VIN number that's in that frame rail over there to be intact. So I made them long, so they're going to end up being cut off about right here. So that's how that's going to end up. Not sure on the bumper yet what we're going to do there, but if we do, I'll use these frame horns and weld them on the inside here wherever that bumper fits. The VIN number is actually right there, so it's not as visible on a stock truck, but it is going to be visible if I ever need to prove that I had the frame to this truck whenever I built this thing. So anyway, going to get on to mounting those cab mounts up and see if we can get something done. Well, I have the front core support brackets all kind of figured out, I think. So I'll have the factory core support bracket off the Super Duty frame section that I cut off. That's what this bottom piece is. I cut that off of those frames, and then I made these plates here. Here's the one for the other side. Just little 3/16 plate with a hole drilled in it. So that's all bolted together like it's going to be on the truck. And it goes up here like so. And I still have to fit it to the core support, but I'm going to weld that on there and then weld that bracket on the frame. And then once I have it all apart, I'll gusset it back up, so there'll be some strength here, because this is just thin sheet metal, so I don't want to just rely on just a weld along here. So I'll gusset it up here like the factory did, the part that we cut out back in here. But anyway, just wanted to show you that before I get all burned in there, so it's easier to see. And I'll get the other side done as well, and then I'm going to pull this apart so we can weld the pieces on the core support, and then also weld this frame up solid. So I'm going to get after that. Well, I've been plugging away here at this core support and getting everything working together before I pull the cab back off of it. I have the front core support brackets welded on there. So these are the factory frame, the Super Duty mounts right here. I just cut them off and weld them where they needed to go. And then I have that plate that's welded on there. I still have yet to gusset it up. I'll do that when it's off of the truck and easier to get to. But basically, we're going to gusset it up here on the other side. Just add strength and have it so that it's not just welded right here on the bottom edge here. There wouldn't be much holding it there. So we're going to gusset it up, triangulate it on both sides, so it'll be nice and strong. But we'll do that when I get the core support off. I also have the radiator mounted up. Ended up using the 6-liter. I have a bunch of 6-liter cabs, some junk cabs. This one was actually in a fire, so paint's all burned off of it. But I cut the lower core support or radiator mount off of that cab, and it was just a little bit. Actually, it hit the frame here still, so I had to cut it off here, and it's a really odd shape. So I made some flattened out some tubing here to match this shape and shoved it in there. Once I get this off, I'll heat this up and crimp it all together so it looks better. Right now it looks pretty bad, but I think it'll look better once I finish it, finish welding it and everything. So that's holding up the bottom of the radiator right there. And on the top here, I just made some plates. and used the factory bushings there for the radiator, and I put some nut rivets in the core support here, and then screwed it together with these, so that worked really nice. So the radiator is held nice in place up against the core support there, so it has a good seal, and it fits with the factory fan. So you got the fan in there, and it fits the hole for the fan shroud for the 6-liter radiator. So all that worked together really nice, considering we're using a 6-liter part with a 6.7 engine and 6.7 engine fan, but it all's going together pretty nice. I have the front, the frame rails cut off here that I'm not using, so cut off right along there. Kind of that's about where the bumper's going to be. If I'm going to use the factory bumper, what I was planning on doing is taking these. They're going to be a little bit shorter, but taking these and kind of getting them wherever they need to be, because they're going to have to be further in. So it's going to bolt them to the bumper and put them in here wherever they need to be, and then probably weld some brackets on it and weld it all together, and see if that's going to work together. I don't know yet though, because the bumper's going to be in this area, and that's going to hang down low. But if I paint that black, I'm going to kind of get a bumper. I'm going to try to put the grill in and put a bumper on it and see what I think about that, because if I don't like the look of the factory bumper with that hanging down there, I'm not going to mess with welding those frame sections on. So we'll see how that goes. I'm going to try to get the front end kind of mocked up, and we'll go from there. Well guys, I have the grill mounted up, and I actually put a stone deflector down there at the bottom, just to kind of, so I can get the bumper where it needs to go right there. And I think I have a plan. If I can do this. Okay, if I can do this with the camera, I'll show you my plan. I'm gonna have one hand on the bumper because it'll fall off, but you can kind of see there where the lower radiator support hangs down real low, and it would be kind of an eyesore if I can get you back far enough to see it. But I think I have a solution for that, so let me get it put up there and I'll show you. Okay, so it's just setting up there, so bear with me. This is all just for mock-up, but that is a replacement Highboy front cross member that you can get off eBay. So that's been up in the shape of a Highboy cross member, and if I set that on the frame, it kind of hides that lower radiator support. So I think I'm going to make some brackets for the bumper, so we can use the original bumper with this project, and mount up a Highboy cross member. So that's going to be two things. That's going to make it hide the radiator support down there, and it's also going to give it a Highboy look with that cross member below the bumper, just like a factory Highboy would have. So that's kind of the look we're going for. So that's going to be hit two birds with one stone, I think. So I think that's going to work. The next step is make brackets for this bumper. So let me show you what I think I'm going to do there. Okay, since this frame is a 37-inch frame, the Super Duty frame is, and a bump side frame is 34-inch frame, these brackets aren't going to work. The holes for the bumper do not line up with the outside of the frame. My original plan was to use these frame horns off the two-wheel drive frame and cut them down, and then weld them up here where they need to go. But I don't think that was going to work very good, because the height of the brackets needed to be, the bumper brackets was up here, and it didn't line up with the frame, and it was going to be a mess trying to get all that to line up and look decent. So I've abandoned that idea, and I've went to these Highboy brackets. So these are off of a Highboy. Highboys and F350s use these brackets because the front of the frame on those does not have this shape. So they have these brackets so you can bolt a bumper on it. And went out and got some of those, and I think they're going to work, because it ends up being about an inch and a half, a little less than an inch and a half, but pretty much inch and a half right here, spaced out, and it lines up with the holes in the bumper. So how I'm going to do that, I think, is I have this block of aluminum here that's just about the right size, and I have it marked out there. I'm going to cut it in half at a diagonal, and then I'm going to machine a step down there at the bottom, so this right here has a spot to register to, and drill some holes in that, and then drill some holes in the frame, and we'll just bolt it all up with these spacer brackets. So these blocks will add a lot of, if you just use spacers in that, your bumper might want to move and bounce around and get loose and stuff, but with these big blocks like that, it'll sandwich all that together. It'll kind of help hold it in place, I think. So we'll give that a try. So I'm going to go cut this in half, and then start machining this, and get some holes drilled in it so we can get these brackets bolted in through them, and then bolted on the bumper, get the bumper up there in place, and figure out where the holes need to go in the frame here. So that's my plan so far. So right now I'm just going to start machining on that block, and I'll fill you guys in when I get some of that done. Well, now to kind of give you an idea of what I was talking about here, here's our block that I made. Just a you know, angled block there with a little step on it there for that bracket there to butt up against. So then all we got to do is drill a couple holes there, and then we got to find out where those holes need to fit on the frame so our bumper's in the right place. So at least I got one done. Have the other one here, and it is an exact copy of this one, so that's not what we were going for. So I have two driver's side brackets, and the step should have been on the other side on this one, so I was rushing a little bit and didn't take my time and make sure I was doing it right. So I'm going to have to machine that lip off and figure out what I'm going to do on this side. If I'm just going to run with no lip and see how it works, we might have to do that, and if the bumper wants to move, we might have to figure something out later. But right now, I gotta get these holes drilled and that other lip machined off, and then we'll see if we can get that bumper in place. Well, guys, I got a little farther along with mounting this bumper up. I only have one hole drilled. That has been the hardest part. There's the hole. The hardest part is getting the location right, because I want the bumper to be kind of in the factory location. And since I don't have anything to go off of as far as the frame goes, where the bumper is originally mounted to, you know, it's just been shot in the dark. So I think I have it pretty close to the original location here. But getting the holes drilled in my blocks there in the in the frame, but I have the blocks in that bracket there. So since we have all that extra stuff, it's kind of hard to get the hole in the exact location, and the core support here is in the way of the second hole. But at least have this one hole here drilled. I'm going to get the other one here drilled, so at least have two in the correct location. And then when I get the core support out of the way, I'll be able to drill the second hole, because I'll be able to. I took a measurement here of the actual degree that this bumper is mounted at, where I think it is correct. So once I get the core support out of the way, I'll be able to line this back up with that degree, 92.3 degrees, and then I'll drill the other hole there, because I want that hole to be precise. You know, you could drill it bigger and you could have some play, but I want it to be precisely 7/16 for the bolt, so the bumper doesn't want to move. I drilled the holes in those blocks to 7/16, so they are very close to the correct tolerance. And the same with the frame hole. I want it to be, so, you know, you just don't want that bumper moving around, because I'm planning on putting this grill guard on it. And that bolts to this hole right here, so that's going to be a lot of extra weight up here leveraging on this bumper. So I want those to be nice and tight. I was originally going to put this grill guard on the Harbor Blue Highboy restoration, the regular cab I'm doing. But I really like the look of this bumper, and I kind of hate to sell it, so I'm kind of wanting to put it on a truck I'm keeping. And since I'm able to make the factory bumper work on this, I think I'm going to slap that bumper on this truck here. So I've already held it up there by hand, and it looks really nice. You guys just have to trust me on that. Once I get this thing mounted up nice and solid, I'll probably put that on there just to get a good idea of what it looks like and get some pictures of it. But for now, I'm going to finish drilling those holes and see if we can get that thing solidly mounted on there. Well, guys, here we go. Got the grill guard mounted up on the bumper. I'm really happy that I decided to keep this thing, because I really like the look of this particular grill guard, and happy that I'm putting it on a truck that I'm keeping, because it just looks mean. It's a little deeper than a lot of them. You know, it goes down a little farther in the bumper. I just think it looks really neat, and it's pretty thin and doesn't really cover up the grill guard or the grill. so you get a good look at the grill, the aluminum grill there, and it doesn't cover it up. It does, however, kind of get in the way of the license plate. I got this reproduction. This is Ford Country license plate here, and it does cover it up a little bit. If I didn't have it painted already, I think the thing to do would be make it come up like this. But since it's already painted, I think I'll probably just leave it alone. But pretty happy with the way it looks. I have to get the Highboy front cross member there, that reproduction one. I'm going to try to mount that somewhere. It's probably going to be a little bit higher up, but just so it kind of hides that core support down there. I painted it black, and it really helps with keep it hidden, and you don't really notice it. So pretty happy with the way that turned out. I still have to finish all the welding on the front of the frame here. Nothing is finished up, so the frame extension, the mounts and everything, all that's just kind of tacked in place. But I'll do that once I yank the cab back off of this and tear the front end back apart. So all that is yet to be finished. We're just kind of doing the I'm trying to get everything done with the cab that I need the cab on the frame for, and get it all kind of, you know, tacked in place where I can finish it with the cab off of the frame. So I'm hoping that I can get this thing to somewhere where we can get its body work started on it sometime relatively soon. So I wanted to get at least all the framework done so I can get the cab, so we don't need it anymore, basically. I did get one of my wheels mounted on my tires. We just have one tire here, just seeing what the size is before we order the whole set. I did order the rest of them. So hopefully sometime soon we'll get the rest of those wheels mounted on the tires, and get this thing on all 4 tires. And my leaf springs showed up today at the freight terminal. I'll have to go pick those up tomorrow. We'll get the leaf springs under it and the axle under it, and maybe we'll get this thing rolled out of the shop with all of the wheels and tires on it and rear axle under it, and we'll get a really good look at it. So looking forward to that for sure. For now, I just have to make sure I get the good idea where the bumper needs to go, because I still have to drill the 2 lower holes for that those bumper brackets, and I can only do that with the core support off of here. So I'm gonna work on that, and then see what else I can get done. I did get the hood kind of put on here, just to check clearances and stuff. The plastic intake thing, it does get pretty close up here to the hood, but we have about a 1/2 inch, so that turned out really nice. I was thinking about trying to get the cab a little bit lower, because we do still have some room up here, but I'm glad I didn't, because for one, the fan would have been higher and the radiator would have been mounted higher to make the fan fit, and it turned out perfect here with the I made these brackets here, and the top of the radiator is basically just flat with the top of the core support, so it's you know, perfect. I wouldn't want it sticking up higher and just look goofy. Plus our intake there would hit the roof, or the hood, the top of the hood, or the bottom of the hood, whatever. So there is some like aluminum intakes, Y pipes here for the intake manifold, or whatever you call that, to go to the intake manifold. But they're quite expensive, and I can make some, but I just, you know, this works, so I'm just going to run the plastic intake for now. We might upgrade that later at a later date, but for now I think it's fine. I do have to get rid of the CCV filter canister thing there, because I think the Hydro Boost is going to hit it. So I have a relocation kit for that, to move that canister deal, or to eliminate it. So I think our Hydro Boost will work. I'm going to check and make sure. And then the steering column down here, I have this is a Highboy steering column out of like a 75 to 77. I'm not sure when they offered automatics. I think it might be 76 to 77, but this is automatic Highboy steering column, so it has the spline down here with the shifter. It has the like dent side style steering column here, that I'm not really a fan of on these older trucks, so I'm going to try to get a bump side steering column rebuilt and painted red to match the red interior, and then just change out the steering shaft so we can have splined output here. But the shifter lever is going to be fun, because we have, if you can see here, there's the engine. We don't have much room here, so I'll see what I come up with there. That'll be, you know, pretty far down the road, you know, when we're putting it all together. Same thing with the transfer case shifter. I did get a transfer case to bolt to the back of this transmission, and there was a manual shift transfer arm or transfer case shifter on Super Duties. that bolts to this transmission, but I think it's going to be too far over. It's going to be too far this way and get in the way of the cab floor here. So I'm probably going to have to make one like I did on my Ultimate Highboy truck, make a custom one, and I want it to look like a factory Highboy shifter. So I'm going to try to get that done at some point, and then also have to mount a throttle pedal because this engine is drive-by-wire. So I have to mount the electronic throttle pedal in there, but after that, we'll pretty much be done with the cab. Hopefully I didn't miss anything, and then we'll see if we can get this thing painted, because right now it is we got a primer colored firewall. We have rust we need to fix, and yeah. So anyway, guys, I'm gonna get after that kind of little stuff, you know, tinkering with this thing, and hopefully at the end of this video we'll have this thing out of the shop here and we'll get a good look at it. So hopefully we'll see you guys then. All right, guys, I have a little surprise for you. Yesterday I went and got the PMF Deaver long travel leaf springs for this truck. So we actually had some leaf springs for the rear of this thing. I was able to put the axle in the back of it and get the wheels and tires mounted up, and check this out. Well, there you go, guys. Just walk around with the truck outside of the shop. It turned out really fantastic, I thought. I'm really happy with the stance. It is sitting a little bit high in the back. There's like no weight in the back, so it's going to sit about 2 inches lower, give or take, with the bumper, exhaust, fuel tank, and all that stuff bolted back in it. Right now, there's absolutely nothing. So it is sitting a little bit high in the back. But man, the stance just turned out perfect on this thing. I'm glad I went with the 2.5-inch lift versus the 4.5. I think the 4.5 would be way too high, because the step here is already a big one. I'm gonna have to run some sort of running board, because for everyday use, that step is gonna be quite a lot. You know, I mean, you can do it, but I'm getting too old for that big of a step without a running board of some sort there. So I don't know what I'm doing there, but the wheel and tire package, I think, turned out really nice. They are sticking out just a little bit more than I would like. These are 0 offset wheels, so they are sticking out just a little bit, but that's the only option I could get with these Methods double standards, and I really like that wheel. I think it really looks good with the Wimbledon white paint, the machined cleared wheels there. So we're gonna run them and see what we think. The only other option I think would be a factory steel 2011 and up Super Duty wheel painted white. I've seen that on some trucks that look good. That would move it in quite a bit, because those are the factory wheels are inset a lot more. But I'm gonna run these and see what I think for now. But we got that we got a 35 10.5 17 tire. That's a tall, skinny tire. I think really looks good on these old trucks. So right now I am just super pumped to have this truck on all 4 tires and out of the shop and rolling. There's still a ton of work to do, but this is really a big motivation, seeing this out here and seeing what it's going to look like driving down the road. So anyway, guys, I'm going to leave that for this episode. Since we got this thing out of the shop, I thought that was a good stopping point. Tell me what you guys think of this truck so far. Do you like it? Would you change anything, do anything different, or you think what I got going on here is pretty good? So let me know down in the comments below. Like this video if you like this truck. Subscribe for more. I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching, guys.